What is up, everybody? I hope you are having a fantastic evening. And better yet, I hope you have a safe and happy new year. We got to make sure that everybody in this chat is alive and respirating because Saturday we've got the game of all games. Behind enemy lines doesn't get any bigger or better than this. 49ers, Seahawks, Saturday, NFC on the line, NFC West on the line, and there's nobody better to bring on the show than Brandon, brother. How are you doing, man?
Oh, bro, it don't get better than this. You're playing for all these stakes at the end of the year. You're already in the playoffs. You're just trying to put the cherry on top, and you're fighting it out with your biggest, worst, or best combatant, however you want to put it. Nemesis is always the word I come back to time and time again, and it's storybook like. I mean, I would just only say that it would only be better, quite frankly, on it if you guys were a little bit more fuller at health. Because I think then it'd just be at that, hey, it's truly the great on great. And you guys have made yourself a great team and you've done so far and overcome. But even still, it's just it can't get any better. And I mean, I think you probably feel a little bit the same way in that way, but it's just I'm riding high, man. You've been with me on this for a couple of years, knowing and turning over this and turn over that, and you have to turn over sometimes and the fan base with stuff, even in the good times. When it's in somewhat of the middling times and you're turning over stuff like, do we have to fire Carroll? Has Russell Wilson got to be traded? How dare you talk about it? And you're out of that place now. And it's just, it's great. I've been walking around with a smile here for the back half of the schedule. Just like, yeah, let's go.
Well, it is cool because we definitely talk backstage about this whole thing, and you and I have become pretty good friends over the last few years. We've done this quite a bit now. We do the weekly show on the NFC West Roundtable. And, obviously I hate the Seahawks as a team and I wish they would lose every week, except for when they played the Rams a couple weeks ago. I was definitely a fan of them just for this spot at the number one seed. But for your sake, like when the team is good, I know that that's good for you and your growth and all of that. And I've definitely seen it. The fans are very hyped. They're coming back around. The stadium is actually being filled with Seahawks fans again. I know for a couple years, you're like, man, come on, 12s. Like these home games don't even feel like home games sometimes. And it seems to be turning a corner when the team is good. Obviously, that's better for business. So very, very happy for you on that front. And frankly, it doesn't get better than this. When we talked week one and the way that game went, we could have never imagined that week 18 it would be like this. Like we both expected our teams to be pretty good and fighting for the playoffs, but number one seed on the line in the NFC, like I don't think either of us imagined that. And here we are, man. Whoever wins, winner takes it all. Number one seed. It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy.
You couldn't have written it down. I mean, people want to talk about the script, NFL script makers. It's like they couldn't have come up with this better, and it does show you that even though that week one, you sometimes pull oh, this means we're this or this means we're that. It's a long NFL season. A lot can happen. You never know how it's really going to play out. And I think that whether or not it's overcoming injury or young players growing, as has kind of been a little bit of ours with the coach, it's that these two teams deserve to be here and that they've earned the right to be here, especially with the records that they've posted with as how good a stellar play they've put together, especially the back half of the schedule when you want to be playing your best football. And that's also another cool part about this is it's not the injury thing notwithstanding, you're getting a team that's going to be able to say, hey, we had to get our right here. We had to fight through a lot of adversity to get to this spot. And I think that's the case with both of these two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't you talk to me about injuries? Speaking of, obviously Seattle's relatively healthy, which is a miracle in itself, 18 weeks into a year to be as healthy as the Seahawks are. But there are a couple of things, and one of the big ones is Rashid Shaheed. I know that, concussion protocol, and he's been a difference maker. I mean, I would argue that he was the main difference maker against the Rams. Without his help, I don't know that game goes the way that it does. It wasn't just, everybody talks about the punt return for a touchdown, and that was huge, don't get me wrong. But it was the very next series, he got the end around as well and took that 30, 40 yards, and that set up that series to be a successful one. He really came alive in that game, and he's come alive overall on special teams. Now that he's got a concussion, that could definitely take the number one special teams in the NFL and the Seattle Seahawks, knock them down a notch. So talk to me about Rashid Shaheed and then some of the other players that might be on the injury report as well.
Yes, he's been definitely a valuable asset into what he's added to the offense. He gave you right off the rip the special teams impact, and then it's been coming along as well as a pass catcher, where it takes time when you got a receiver come in midseason. Even the guy that knows the playbook, like him, going back from the Saints with Kubiak last year. So that was going to take time. Your quarterback can't throw 100 times after practice with a guy. He's kind of saving his arm at this point in time of the year. So that had started to come a little bit more forward. He was a limited participant today at practice, which to me, if I'm reading tea leaves, would say that he's on track to probably play. And that is a big boon to this, both special teams, but also the offense for the speed he gives you on the outside, because it's a guy you really have to, whether the full complete meal deal receiver, how impactful he is from just a receiving standpoint, as far as the speed goes, you have to be staying on that. And he'll draw the safety over the top to it. He'll clear coverage off at times, even for Jackson at moments. So it's valuable in a lot of different areas, but it does look like he's going to come along. Charles Cross is going to miss this game. Josh Jones, the backup's a little banged up, but I think they're just being careful with him because you're down Cross already. You don't want to get to the third left tackle on your rotation there. And as you said, by and large, really the rest of the health stuff, I mean, certainly we would have no place to squawk in comparison to where you guys have been and what you've had to deal with. It's a third running back, McIntosh, that goes down. If you're going over the defensive side of the ball, you almost, I think at this point, are just about 100% health except for Kobe Bryant, your safety. And you've had Ikata playing all year. So you have a guy that's played well and you're not really missing a beat when he's been out there. But it is the other great part about the season that puts the big smile on my face here, Jesse, in that not only are you playing good, best football down the stretch, not only a lot of things like the running game coming together, defense being very dominant overall, pretty much for the most part, week in, week out, but then health-wise, another very big driving force, as you know. I mean, hell, your Super Bowl alone, like Dre Greenlaw doesn't bust that Achilles, right? It's probably a win for your team. It literally maybe comes down to as much as just that one little thing. So injuries, as much as we don't like to make excuses for it, it is a reality of when you're on one side to the other on the impact of it. How are you guys at?
Well, I do have a question. You said Cross is for sure missing. Now this will be his second week with the hamstring he's missing. Is that correct?
Yes. He was out the Rams game too.
Okay. So third week he'd be missing in a row?
I guess this will be the third week. You're right. That's right. Third week in a row.
So this is a pretty serious, well, see, this concerns me, right? Because in hamstring injuries, I know there's different grades and I don't know what's what, but if this is the third week he's missing, Trent Williams just had a hamstring injury in this last game, and this is week number 1. So it tells me that they're going to probably take this up to game time with Trent Williams, and he's certainly not going to practice all week, or at least I would imagine he won't, and then we'll see what happens in the game. Now, being a Saturday game, that's a shorter week, but if Cross is already basically out for a third week with a hamstring, that does worry me more about Trent Williams. I had this hope or thought like maybe he could play, and I guess maybe he could, but I mean, I don't know now, right? Like this is 6 days removed from a hamstring injury, and the hamstring injury we know was bad enough for Trent Williams where he took the gloves off and untaped his wrists immediately, basically, and sat out the rest of that game. And with the playoffs around the corner, like I get it, the number 1 seed is on the line. It would be great to have the bye week, but the playoffs are also right around the corner. You really can't risk things there. So I don't know. It seems to me like Trent Williams easily could sit this one out at this point, which would be bad.
It does depend on the severity, because it's the 3 different severity types, I think, on the hamstring. But to your point on that, and I'll ask you in this a second, and to your kind of wonder on that, Devontae Adams also has been being kept out by the Rams. I think the Rams kind of subtly played this in the Falcon game with Alaric Jackson and Devontae, where it's like, if that was a playoff game, could those guys have played? Probably. Are they thinking about playoffs already because the number 1 buys out the door? I kind of think they were. And so to your point on this, hamstrings are the ones that they're like the groin, in that it's the one injury where it has to be a place of 100% you're over it, or the chances of re-injury go up exponentially. And so you can play on it, you can be out there, but it's on the hair's trigger of that line. And I'd ask you on this from a Niner tactical standpoint coming into this, is it worthwhile to put that risk up, knowing like if this gets more injured and we got to come back the very next week and play, we're not likely to win that game, versus if the extra week can help here and he is a little bit better in health, that gives us that much better shot as we kick our way into the playoffs, and make it happen. I mean, I know I say this from a Hawk fan who would love to have nothing more than Trent not play this week, so that's certainly a little bit of the like part of it. But I mean, I wonder from your perspective where you'd stand with that.
Yeah, I definitely would say be cautious. And if you feel like Trent is close or for sure could play in 2 weeks, if it comes down to it, I don't think it's worth the risk. I really don't. Listen, we got a hat bet on the line. I would love nothing more than for Trent Williams to play, and that'd make me feel much better about this hat bet with you. But I also want the 49ers to win a Super Bowl, and Trent Williams in week 18 is not as important as Trent Williams in weeks 19 through 22 or whatever it is, as they're trying to make a trip into the Super Bowl. So, no, I would say if there's any doubt at all, just rest him. There's no reason to play Trent Williams. So, I think it's more likely that he doesn't play. That being said, Christian McCaffrey landed up on the injury report. This isn't a new one for him. He had a back injury that we found out about coming out of the bye week into the game against, I think it was Tennessee. He popped up on the injury report then with a back injury. He tweaked it during the game this last week. He says he's going to play. They're resting him essentially, so I think he'll play for sure. Keon White, I'm not quite sure about. He was their trade deadline get. About a week before the trade deadline, they traded for him. He's been a difference maker for them for sure, and without him, that really hurts the defensive line. That's a groin injury, so I think that one's up in the air. And same with Kyle Juszczyk in the hip. But good news, full participant, Renardo Green, neck injury. You never know with these neck injuries. I mean, shoot, we've seen you guys know, talk about a neck injury or ruining a career. You guys saw that happen at the safety position. So with Cam
And
Chancellor,
Cliff
yeah,
Averill too.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. So you never know with neck injuries, and he's missed the last couple weeks, but he was a full participant, so that's great. Upton Stout, same timeline as Rashid Shaheed. They both have concussions, also a limited participant, so I imagine he plays. Kittle already said he's for sure playing. Ricky Pearsall is going to play, so everybody else should be good to go. It really just comes down to, for me, Trent Williams and Keon White. Those are the big ones that we just don't know about. So
Yeah, they went and flashed McCaffrey on the sideline in the game. He looked like me getting out of bed in the morning with my bag, dude.
trust me. It just...
It was. I was feeling for him. I was like, I know, I get it, man. But would you apply a little bit of that same kind of conservative nature to the rest of some of these other stuff? Like the Kittle one looks at like one with, I gave Kittle a week, and I don't. This all comes down to what the doctors are telling you, right? Because the doctors tell you that the extra week helps him. Then you go, yeah, and that's where I really operate from. When I ask these questions, it's really operating from the standpoint of the doctor telling you, take out Snout, he could play a week in a concussion, you get going on that. And Green's good to go. He's been getting back to health, so that's fine. But the other ones you mentioned on that, maybe being a use check, maybe being this one with McCaffrey, and then with Trent, being that you go, yeah, if we got the back an extra week to calm down a little bit, that'd be probably helpful in a year where we put 400 touches on his back. It's such a hard, I ask this because I don't think it's an easy choice. I'm not saying like you guys had to do it. I'm like, I really want to know kind of curiosity from what would drive you on that. Cause like you say, you want the Super Bowl, but then you also like the buys, like that's also a first round buy though, then too.
I know that that's the hard part, because like if you go all in and you win, you still get the bye. You get the week of rest, you just get it a week later, right? And so it's but see, that's the other part. If you
has the damage been done? Has the damage been done?
And then if you don't win, you don't get the bye week. Now all of a sudden you're banged up going to Philly in cold weather or something. It is tough. George Kittle was close to playing last week, it sounds like. So I think last week was the extra week. He just did it, sat out to be ready for this week. So he's going to be good to go. He's already a limited participant, so I don't think you're going to let him sit out. And with CMC, the way I would manage it is exactly how they're doing it, which is, hey, you can miss the week of practice. You don't need to practice. Just be ready for the game. And if that's how you got to manage him through the playoffs, then do that. But this has been the concern all year long, is like, we talked about this a couple of years ago when he was the offensive player of the year. It's like, okay, we get it. He's great, but does he really need 400 touches? Could you ease him out a little bit when the game's a blowout in the final drive? Does he really need 3 or 4 more car crashes for no reason to close out this game? Like, is that necessary? Could we save that for the playoffs maybe? But Shanahan spams him like it's Madden and acts like he can't get hurt. So it is what it is at this point. Like, just let him rest and not practice and play the games. But he's going to play. Like, Christian's not going to let himself sit. So you just got to deal with it at that point.
Well, and it's been wild to watch with McCaffrey after all these years. And sorry, my cat's in the background making caterwaul noise. It's been wild watching through all these years, with the way that this is built up to this season with McCaffrey, you and I talking, because a lot of times you guys have had the good back behind him that you could feel pretty good to go to, be it a Jordan Mason recently or even further back. You guys traded for Brian Robinson. I know, look, he is what he is. He's a meat and potatoes guy. He's not going to be super exotic or do a lot of things, but he's capable, competent. He's a good hard charger. Is it just that there is a drop off so hardly from him to McCaffrey here? Or is it just the love that
not as a
Shanahan
runner?
has?
No, it's just Shanahan loves. I mean, listen, they 2 years in a row they've drafted a running back in Garindo and Jordan James. Neither one of them have gotten a single frickin' carry. So, these are guys that Shanahan wants. One of them he traded up for in Garindo. The other one he went and was fine trading Mason, and then brought in Jordan James, drafted him, and these guys get 0 touches. So I don't know. I mean, it's just Shanahan loves him some CMC. What are you gonna do?
Boy, he does. I was joking, like, man, I feel bad for his poor wife sometimes, with the way that guy works what he loves so hardly. Like, poor girl.
Oh my gosh. All right. One question I have for you is week 1 was a long time ago, Brandon. A lot has changed since week 1. And, I feel great that the 49ers are at home during this game. Last one was at your guys' house. We stole that one. It was a great game to watch at that point. But how have the Seahawks improved since week 1? There's a lot of changes, and there's obviously some improvement because, gosh, you guys have been on a burner for sure. So how have the Seahawks improved in your opinion?
I think the biggest major point of improvement has been onto the offense and onto understanding the system. And, you're going from, using, basically finger paint with some of the prior offenses that we've operated from to trying to go into like advanced math calculus classes. It's quite a kind of culture shock from what you're trying to accomplish. And I think you've seen this with Shanahan, even at spots prior to the Niners, like Atlanta, for instance, where the first year with him and Kirk Cousins wasn't exactly just super smooth sailing, and they just took off like the wind from the jump. It was into that second year that you got the MVP, and that the relationship really, and not only that, the rest of the offense with it. It's such a detailed centric blocking system and scheme, and the type of blocks you have to lay, and the timing of the blocks, and the working together at the point of attack at points and moments like that, and these double, and just it to me takes a little while to master. And that's part of the fruits of it, in that the returns is that you can have an offense that, let's say, can sustain some injuries across the board, yet still find capability, can have a quarterback go down, still find, production, Jesse. And I think that's been the thing with this offense, that you're watching the growth go on, especially within the ground game from the first half to the second half of the year, is that those have gotten better and better at the consistent runs. And this offense is all driven by consistency early downs. And then you get yourself into third and makeable. And then you're getting these drives that are just consistently eating the clock, working the way up the football field. It will work in a deep play here and there, but that's how it wants to kind of live. And that's where, to get there, you can't have the negative 1 yard carry. You can't have the no yards gained on first down when you go to that run game, because now you're behind the sticks. Now you're down into a passing down on 2nd and 10. Now if you don't get that pass, now you're in a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. And that's where this offense, has been, when it struggled, has been caught those moments where they didn't get the consistency on 1st and 2nd down to get themselves to 3rd down. I think that was a big difference from that game. The Niners, we found some offensive footing here and there, but it was really a lot of the hitting some of the shot plays down the football field more than it was kind of working the ball up the field. And I think that's part that's really taken form, along with just everybody figuring this offense out a little bit on just all little like minor things, more than some major thing. It's more of this little detail or that little detail here. Sam learning along the way too, as well, within the offense, as he will, in this being his first year with the team too.
Yeah, I had those questions, and I did after the game. I said, I don't know. Is the 49ers defense that good? Because obviously the first thing that we wanted to do as fans after that game was like, wow, Robert Saleh's back. Here we go. We're firing on all cylinders. Now, the defense was good, and it's, lost some pieces, Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. I understand that. But I always had a feeling that the Seahawks offense wasn't as bad as what they showed in week 1. And to me, usually offenses are behind defenses to start the season anyways. That's number one. But number two, you did have a new quarterback, a new coordinator, a reworked offensive line, a new receiving core. Like you literally redid everything but the running game, essentially, or the running backs, but the running game was reworked. So I thought, well, we'll see if they're actually this bad or if they can improve throughout the season. And I think it's been clear it's certainly improved throughout the season. And that what are you, number two in scoring? Is that, am I right on that? You guys are
I
way up
think
there for
so.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
definitely up there. 29.5 points per game, I think, is the number. So they're definitely, we were talking the last night, they set a points record, which is the pretty incredible part about this, that this first year with a new coach, with that new coordinator, with all those new parts you just talked about, no DK, no Tyler Lockett, moving on from your tight end position, like we go down the line. And yet, yeah, with that, you set a points record for your franchise, a franchise that had Mike Holmgren, had offenses cooking in 2003, 4, 5. Those offenses were really good. 2 Hall of Famers on the offensive line. Like those were nothing to shake us. To went to a Super Bowl with those offense. But that's why this offense is so awesome. Is that this is why I wanted this thing? Is that this is what this can bring you about when it's rolled, and it does speak to the talent I think that's there on this team across the board to kind of make this come into be while you're still working out all of the kinks within it. I think teams also, weirdly enough, Kubiak had kind of a brilliant adjustment he made this offseason to this offense, and that he took the splits and he condensed them down, and he really lived in that way. And what that did is it took a guy in Jackson Smith and Jigba, who everybody thought was going to have to be a slot king his whole career and could never move out of it, could only be an Amon St. Brown, and he moved him to those condensed splits. And then the reaction defensively week in and week out, almost every defense, Jesse, I'm telling you, it was like your defense didn't do this, but almost everyone after you guys was doing this, which was then to bring down the stack boxes and then bring the blitzes with them. And it was both one week after another, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And you're going, wow. And then that's a little bit of why you saw so much of that massive explosiveness down the field, because then you're leaving 1-on-1 for Jackson, and Sam's like, all right, F it, throw it down there. Jackson's down there somewhere, kind of thing, right? Yeah. And it was working. It wasn't necessarily, though, consistent offensive football that was getting you down the field, making that happen. It was just that defenses were kind of leaving the back door open, and then the kitchen was right there, and there was a pie sitting there, and it was, the simmering with the baking, and you're like, ooh, let's, jump in and grab that pie. So it's been a weird year offensively, and having to go through some of this, stuff to agree, but it has been really hyper explosive. That first matchup, I think one thing, and I went back and watched the tape, and that looking at what your defense did that stood out as good as any defense this year in playing our offense is the steps before the snap towards where the run game was going. And I kept thinking about it. I'm like, man, it's got to be partly because, look, you guys run the same offensive scheme. You guys practice against this 24/7. Also, this is us running it for the first time. So I'm guessing that there's probably like 15 tells across the offensive line and running backs as to where the play is going. And that's the part where I worry about in this game a little bit on that with the run game, your ability to stop it, is that those keys that we were showing, have we eliminated those? And if we are showing those, can Kubiak adjust now to doing more misdirection? If you're going to go bump, 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 3 steps into a direction before the snap, then I'm going to come back and hit you the other way at that point. I should have a bit of some openings, to that degree. And so it's been good on that part. I guess let's pivot this over back to you, to the other side of it. We've had a lot of discussion with Brock Purdy doing preparation on some of the statistics some of the stats on this don't always add up to me with you guys offensively, with some of the stuff I see on how you've gotten it done. And so with Brock, we talked about it on the roundtable a couple weeks ago, being that, Brock had started out playing on time on script. He had receivers gaming separation all over the place, and he was doing a smart job of just find the read, go. Then got comfortable, maybe a little too comfortable, right? Where you start, hey, I can improvise. Hey, I can play off script. And started maybe doing that a little bit too much, which then kind of led to maybe interceptions as we got down the line of things. Mm-hmm. Matt goes out there, plays on point. He's back onto the rhythm of the offense. And then that's Brock was, as he said, kind of, okay, this kind of time I got to come back into doing this. But yet I still do see, when you look at like the time to throw for you guys this year, it's at 2.92 seconds. And so I try to make a little bit of sense of like, that almost still seems like there is still a lot of that off script still stuff in there within what Brock's doing here a bit. Can you give me a bit of a view of Brock and this picture of him? Because it's a complicated one. I know when you try to get to the nuance, and this is the hardest, in the game we do this, hardest thing to get to is nuance, right? But it is the place that interests me most in this Brock discussion as we try to get to the truth of it.
Yeah, so Brock definitely has held the ball every season he's been in the league. He's held the ball a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. And when you look at his passing splits when he's throwing to the first read versus reads 2, 3, 4, what have you, he's phenomenal. Read number one, if he gets the ball out, like his statistics are amazing. He's below average when he has to go through his reads. And I think a lot of that is, to your point, it's not that he can't go through the reads. He's a smart quarterback. He's cerebral. He just decides to get into playmaker mode a little bit too much. And what I've liked the most from him over the last couple of weeks, listen, every quarterback's going to give you like one a game. It's just going to happen. Whether it's a tip ball or bad decision, maybe an inaccurate throw, there's going to be one or so a game. But outside of that, he really has been making good decisions repeatedly. And my biggest thing with Brock was, listen, you can't go out there with a gunslinger mindset and a skill set that says you're a game manager as a thrower of the football. And that's what he was doing. He was putting the ball in harm's way too much. Now with his legs, he's absolutely a playmaker. Right? Like that's where the differences come in. And Shanahan has mixed that in enough to keep defenses on their toes with the called running plays with him, the RPOs with him, what have you. And Brock's been doing a brilliant job of choosing 2, 3 times a game where he says, all right, now I'm going to make a play. But outside of that, he's playing very much within the structure of the offense. And it's really panned out for him in this offense. And they have just taken it to a whole new level at this point. He's getting much more comfortable just being okay, taking his checkdowns, which all last season, he was not comfortable doing that. He was forcing the ball downfield, a lot of early down turnovers or possible turnovers. This year, his turnover worthy plays were up, but his big time throws were down. And it's just, there was a lot going on. But right now, where he's been the last 3 weeks, he's really locked in on that. He's making quicker decisions. He's choosing those 2 or 3 times a game to go make plays. And outside of that, he's very much in the structure of the offense. And it's really paying off for him. So that's what I would say the difference is. The hold ball times and all of that have dropped a little bit. And he's just playing within the confines of the offense outside of those 2 or 3 plays. And he's been playing brilliantly.
I thought Collinsworth, who I know a lot of people beat up on, rightfully so, for the Mahomes glaze, which is endless, but I thought he did a really good job of.
It's funny how did you notice how he actually brought that up himself briefly?
Oh, it's got to that point, right?
Yeah.
It's got to that point. When it gets to that point where you as an announcer got to self-acknowledge that people are going to make him. He's like, and that's where he's like, you got ahead of that meme, like, yeah, you did. But I thought he did a great job of explaining with what the pickle the Bears defense was in that game. And it was that you almost just off of the linebacker drops alone. It was like, you want to go shallow? Here comes the in-breaking route over your back. You want to go to the back? Here's the check down to McCaffrey in the middle of the field. And to your point on Brock, finding that balance has certainly been a part of that. But when it comes to Shanahan's adjustment within this, it always made sense to me that Shanahan was thriving on going up against cover 3 looks and taking that apart. You could see where he had stuff schematically opened up to take that. But this new era now with the cover 2 shell and the changing of defenses structurally post snap and what you show prior to the snap, I would have thought would have given a little bit more of issues to the Shanahan offense. And yet he has seemingly found some answers. Can you pinpoint to what might be what it is in those answers he's adjusted to?
Yeah, I think he's gone back to stretching the field more horizontally in the pass game versus being vertical with it. Obviously, you've got those 2 safeties over the top, so you can't take those shots downfield. I always thought that Kyle Shanahan was at his best, and you look at the way he's built his teams through going all the way back to 2017. Brings in Kyle Juszczyk. That was his first big signing, and then they draft George Kittle, and years later we bring in CMC. And that's all to put the linebackers in a stress test. He knows that most teams don't have one good linebacker, let alone 3. You can only cover so much. You can't cover all these guys. And so we're gonna stress you out at the linebacker and safety position because there are a lot of good corners. So we don't need the best receivers, but we're going to work the middle of that field. And then we're going to play close to the line of scrimmage. And when we do, we're going to go horizontal on you. And so he's mixed in some more of the horizontal passing game, short passing game, and also the run game. But he really puts you in conflict with a guy like CMC. So they know that CMC, when he gets those little 2-way routes, coming out of the backfield, linebackers are sucking up, which means when they come up, I don't care if you're playing cover 2 or not behind it. There's going to be those end breaking routes that are open. And so you got to pick your poison. Is it going to be a death by 1,000 cuts of CMC, or are you going to let us take the shot in the intermediate field and go behind you with a bunch of, Yankee concepts and dig routes and what have you? And teams are really falling for it. You saw at points last week that they were essentially double teaming CMC. They would put 2 linebackers there. They would follow him everywhere because it was like, well, if he breaks this way, I can't stick with him. If he breaks that way, I can't stick with him. So we're just going to put 2 linebackers there. And then you got Pearsall in breaking route, Jennings in breaking route, whoever, Tonjes in breaking route, just coming in right behind him. It's absolutely incredible to watch. And by the end of the game, they had put Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on CMC because they're like, we just don't have any answers for this guy. So we're going to put our best coverage safety / nickel corner on him because we don't have another option. And I'm curious to see what Seattle does, because to me, I feel like that cover 1 robber or cover 3 might actually work better versus the 49ers, because it's going to bring somebody else down in the box to help with CMC. And then you can also get those end breaking routes and be aggressive and jump those things, because the 49ers aren't going to beat you on go routes outside, and you guys have the corners to stop it. But man, those end breaking routes, if you just let Brock Purdy cook you with those, he'll do it all game long. And I'm watching game after game after game, and they just got free runner after free runner right in the middle of the field, 10 to 20 yards, almost at will, and nobody's figured out how to stop it. It actually blows my mind. I was texting in a group chat of friends. I'm like, how are these guys this open, play in and play out on the same exact route over and over and over? So I'm curious to see how Seattle combats that, if they can. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, that's where you just wonder if he's found a bit of a solution here that everybody's still sort of scrambling to catch up on, and that's across the board defensively. To your point about, what's going on here too, is you have the cover 2 shells proliferated things, right? But cover 2 shell isn't necessarily Tampa Bay 2 cover 2, no. Right? Because cover 2 shell defenses tend to live in cover 2 post snap. But what you're missing in these modernized cover 2s is in the middle of the hash marks, you used to have a middle linebacker that would run up the middle of the football field and be there for those in-breaking routes to take it away. All game in that Chicago game, though, whether it was the double there was with McCaffrey or not, that middle of the field linebacker was not there. And it's not just Chicago that does this. This is kind of a standard thing across the board you see in the NFL now. And as they're getting cute with some of the, driving linebackers into different places in the spots on the field. But with that missing, I think Shanahan's like, oh, you're just going to leave the middle of the field empty. All right. And I think cover 3, maybe a little bit of what's at play. I think cover 1, 2, I feel like we've got some guys on the outside that can run a little bit more man-based concepts. And that I know you don't want to run a lot of man with a guy like Purdy, a mobile quarterback, because then he can potentially hurt you with your legs a little bit on that side of it. But I think intermixing that more than just living 24 in zone would be a nice little way to potentially kind of just give different mixes and looks at Purdy. Because I think in this game, that's what you've got to do, is really try to just keep changing the eye platform a little bit there. Not as much even blitz, but a little bit more of the stack boxes at times here and there mixed in. You got to be careful, obviously, because there's a lot of stuff Shanahan's got baked in to where he sees this and he's got a great counter that he can have Brock just tap his helmet. Brock taps his helmet. Tua taps his helmet. But I do think that that's as good a way to go. I think it's just you also, when I was looking at, I did some kind of deep diving, because you have McDonald now playing him 4 times in about the last 3 years, once with the Ravens. Yep. So you could get a chance to get stylistically a look at it. And I went in and I looked at the blitz rate, the stack box rate, the light box rate, time to throw. I tried to go look at the inside runs and how Shanahan attacked him versus outside. And really the data is pretty similar across all 4 games. It's not really where there's a lot of jump. There's a low percentage rate of blitzing at like 20% by McDonald against Shanahan through all these games. One being the one game against last year at the 40% blitz rate, but I think he did that because of the rain. And I think it goes, okay, it's raining, harder to get your footing, harder to create separation. It's going to be tougher there for Brock to throw in that weather a little bit. So that was a little bit of an outlier. So you come down to how he's going to attack, not going to be blitzing. Can you stack the box? Can you mix up the concepts coverage wise to not give him the easy zone looks like you say? Because a part of them getting into the middle of the field read of that is also the easiness by which you're giving them the indicators of that being the coverage you're going to run, and being able to disguise that a little bit better and really try to dress it up, because Jones did have that interception in the first game. dropping back into space, into the middle of the field between those hash marks, hitting that in-breaking route against Brock in the first game. So you've done a little bit of that in the first one, but it ain't going to be easy, man. Another thing I saw that when you've had success against this Niner team, it's been on creating quick pressure. It's not been the bread and butter of this defense this year, as good as the defense has been. It's been more of a slow burn pressure where it gets a lot of pressure, but it just tends to take a little bit of time. So that's where you give him the time in the pocket to kind of assess and figure things out. I don't like that as much.
Well, I'll tell you what doesn't work against this offense. When defenses want to mug up their linebackers and show blitz and drop out into coverage, that's the worst thing you can do against this offense, because they're just going to get picked apart with those in-breaking routes behind it. One thing that we talked about in week one, and I think this is why McDonald does find some pretty good success against Shanahan, is Shanahan does do the shifts and motions as much or more than anybody year in and year out. McDonald is very unique. And I remember when he was on the Ravens players talking about this very thing of how everybody has to be able to communicate and be on the same page, because he does something different than most coordinators in the league with those handoffs. And you'll see it a lot where, you'll run a shift or a motion, and, if it's zone, then guys aren't going to follow because, we're in a zone. And so now we know, all right, the quarterback knows, hey, this is zone coverage. It's not man because they didn't follow. McDonald doesn't do that. He actually will have guys follow, but still run the same zone. And now you're playing a different position within that zone based off of, did you follow? Did you not? Okay, he followed. So now you're running a hook curl and he's running this. And he changes things up, but he gives you a look to confuse you pre-snap and then changes it completely post-snap. And he does it based off of what you do with your shifts and motions. It's very, very unique, and I think that causes the 49ers a little bit of problems because they do love that first read. It's like, okay, if you see this is where you're going, here's your rules, but he changes those rules completely, snap in and snap out, and it's interesting to watch.
It is. You're right. And it's that change of assignment happens on the fly, and it can be a defensive end taking the responsibility of a linebacker, a slot taking the responsibilities of a linebacker, and they just instinctively understand based off of the way that motion goes in or the shift goes in that it's automatic. And whereas in most schemes, it's like, well, the blitzer in this play is made to be the slot corner. It's not made to be the linebacker at any point. And he does just kind of build those in. And that's sort of the complexity within simplicity is kind of within it's very complex, much like Shanahan's scheme offensively. It's why it's so much fun watching the chess match between these two, because they find a way to get to simplicity with the players while it's all very much dressed up and a lot of complexity behind it. And that's where I think that the shifts don't necessarily off-suit them as much in that way. But I think that you guys played in the first week and showed you found some success. You were able to be patient on those drives. I think that's a big part of this defense too, is it's one that does still he's got a little bit of some of that Carroll in him, does McDonald, and wanting to protect so much against the deep ball down the field. And so he does then say, okay, I'll be willing to give up a little bit of this inch your way up the field thing, and we'll have a mistake made at some point, or we'll get a key play made at some point a little bit, especially against the Snyder team that he's not shown a willingness to blitz a high rate, where he is going to be pretty patient about his approach with them, and respectful, I would say, almost a little bit when it comes to, Shanahan that way.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get through some of these super chats here, brother. We got Keon coming in. He says, sure, Purdy is playing well. He ain't out there tackling and forcing fumbles like your boy Sam, though. Just kidding. Excited for this game. May the best team win. Yes, may the best team win. Definitely looking forward to it. The chat, I can tell, man, they're at each other's necks already, so they're feeling really good in the chat.
Let's go. It's game day, baby. Game day intensity.
Yes, sir. Frank Tom Ocean says, Happy New Year's. Thanks for both of you for the stream. Go 49ers. Well, we appreciate you, Frank Tom Ocean. Thank you for being a member over here. 33 months, man. That's a long time. Brother Bob says, Brandon. All right. He's always just putting it down. We love you, Brother Bob.
I know, Brother Bob. I remember Brother Bob. Finally got that flag down, Bob. Finally, you ain't getting triggered off that.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you wanted you to take it out. Vermilion says, I'm a fan of the Seahawks, and both teams are playing well, but the Seahawks have the turnover problems to be fixed, and the 49ers defense is having problems. Well, we're going to talk about the defense, I'm sure. Try to avoid it all stream. I don't know if I can. Brother Bob says, well, Darnold blows, so you're definitely not good. All right. We're going to talk about Sam because I have some questions. We're going to clear some Sam Darnold confusion up on this show. Samir says, what's up, fellas? If there's another hat bet, oh, there is. I got a couple of good ones queued up. Just so you know, Samir's the one that dropped the last hat on us. That's where I got the last hat.
Thank you for that, Samir.
From Samir.
Thanks. Appreciate that, Samir. That was good of you. Yeah. No, I got a pretty good one picked out. I'm definitely open to some expansive options. I want to be exhaustive in my my hat look for Jesse. Make sure I'm getting the perfect right one. So if you got ones you can send my way, I definitely am. I'm all ears.
Well, listen, we've definitely got a hat bet going in this one. So this one's about 3-4 weeks in the making. We've been talking about this one.
Shoot, 17 weeks in the making.
Yeah. Brother Bob says, fixed it for you, Brandon. He added the ghost there for Sam Darnold.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
There he goes. He says
See?
he's happy that you took the crappy flag down. There you go.
See, Bob, I take in feedback.
I love it. 808 Niner says, happy New Year's, guys. Wishing you guys good health and fortune in 2026. Yes, even you, Brandon, but I can't say anything nice about your sea squawks. Bang, bang. Hey, there we go.
I wouldn't expect you to.
Keith says, I miss Pete Carroll. He's a Niners fan, so of course he misses Pete Carroll. We all do.
Yeah, I bet you guys would. You guys be feasting this game. You'd be ready to put about 700 yards in offense if Carroll was still out here.
Easily. Keith says, any worry of Sam Darnold not being able to exercise the demons and sees ghosts again? I see a repeat of last year's January. Oh, we're going to talk about it. Trust me, we're going to get into Sam Darnold here in a bit. We will. Christopher says, tough divisional game. I think it's going to be close throughout the game, and it comes down to coaching. Sorry, Brando. The Hawks are outmatched there. I think the Seahawks are as well coached as anybody. I do think top to bottom, the 49ers have arguably the best coaching staff in the NFL. I would put the Seahawks top to bottom probably in the top 3 or 4, though. I don't think it's that big of a gap. I really don't.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Joseph says the real number 1 seed is the friends we made along the way.
Yes, sir, it is, Joseph. Yes, sir, it is.
Christopher says Kittle is a hot killer. He'll be open a lot. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Niner Gang Podcast. What's up, brother? He says, I need Christopher Walken to tell me how the Hawks, I don't know, maybe how the Hawks win. We'll go with that.
I'll tell you how Hawks. Why Hawks? I don't know, but they're going to win big. Sorry, Niner fans. Bang, bang, poof. It goes that way. Injuries, the reason. Yeah, definitely. It's the time. You've had yours. You had a chance. You blew it. Now it's ours.
I love it. Sean says, how does Eamon Worry change the math this time? Okay, this is a good comment because Eamon Worry was in his first game as a rookie. He got hurt pretty early on in that game, and he's been a big, big weapon for you guys defensively. Talk to me about that.
Eamon Worry is going to be a big part of this game, and not to be undersold. The first game, look, the defense did all right, but the whole offseason you were structuring this up to move Devin Witherspoon out of the slot to outside corner where he would be more at his best. He originally was in the slot as much as anything because that's what you needed. Him as an outside corner, now with Eamon Worry gives you a full force multiplier where not only now do you have him in there and doing what he's doing, but now he puts Witherspoon, who I think this year has been, if not the number 1 graded PFF corner, right up there as one of the number 1 most graded, highest grade corners by PFF. Not that's an end all be all, but just a representation of a snapshot for you that's how good he's been, and that's operating on that outside now. So really, he's home. He's in his right spot. And Eamon Worry, as I've been trying to bang this drum for a long period of time with you guys on the roundtable on this, is a star in the making. And he's a guy that I went to training camp and got to watch in person. And all of training camp, this guy, Jesse, was just making play after play. And I'm talking picks every day. Jumping routes, and not just like, tip ball landed in his hands. He's running a 9 route with a receiver down the field and running step for step and then going up and high pointing the ball over the receiver. He's jumping from center field up in front of the route, right where a linebacker would play it, and then running it in for a pick 6. You're going, Moy, he's doing this right now. What this is going to be like when this hits the field. And the kid's been sensational all the way around. Big part of what you guys do, fly sweep game, bubble sweep game. You have to have a receiver out there at the point of it, at where you're running the ball to. That's got to be the main block, the lead block on that point. He is destroying those blocks. You cannot block him with a wide receiver. He's got linebacker size. He's moved all over the place. He's playing like Hamilton is at his best right now. It's not like, well, he's going to get to that spot eventually. That's how he's been playing. I mean, we manned him up against Jefferson a couple weeks ago in the slot. Jefferson, 2 catches, 8 yards on the day. He is a freak show as freak shows get. And I'm so happy we got him, but it does change the math on this game because last game he was out after 3 plays, had to bump then Witherspoon into inside. Now you're rocking Woolen and Job. Now does the Woolen play later in the game happen? If you don't have the other thing go, I don't know. Considering especially Job had an interception in that game as well. I kind of think that Woolen would have probably been on the bench. That's Witherspoon out there now instead. Is it the same play out the same way? Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, I think it's going to make a bit of a difference here. I mean, that's as much as anything on this game. I mean, the coaching thing's a fair point on this, but from my perspective, it's as much as just you guys have been great around the injuries. You guys have had a sensational back end of the schedule, but I do believe there comes a place where injuries up against certain teams are going to prove to be a bit too much.
Yeah, we're gonna find out if that's the case, But Eamon Warry's been special player. I wasn't sure about him. I knew he had all the measurables. I've just seen too many safeties have those measurables and not be that guy outside of Kyle Hamilton. And I was like, but I also trusted McDonald. I'm like, listen, if he sees Hamilton in this guy, then it makes a lot of sense. And certainly he's not exactly Hamilton. I think he's more athletic than Hamilton is. So a little bit differences, and Hamilton's an instinctual player, a very smart player, but he's gotten a lot of production out of Eamon Warry for sure.
You were right to wonder too. I didn't have a lock solid first round grade on the guy, and that the what he's become is not necessarily what he was showing on tape in South Carolina. So the evaluation was on point with that. And that you could see that there were good plays, but it wasn't Hamilton. You had him at Notre Dame ripping, kicking ass and taking names at every turn. It was the 4.65, if anything, that got him drafted falling as far as he did in the draft. But this guy's got more upside, and what he could become, and the fact that he can play all of these positions and do so seamlessly. They have him playing will linebacker, and just there's nothing he kind of can't do. And the sky's the limit with this kid.
Yeah, definitely is. PGZ says, I need to see Lenore back up those words.
How you like your corner talking, huh? How you like yippity yapping this week, huh? You think that's a good thing?
I don't know, man. Lenore, I love Lenore because he's an Oregon Duck, but sometimes I'm just like, man, just a little bit, maybe tone it down. He started all offseason, if you remember, when DK Metcalf left, he said there's not a receiver in the division that's good enough for his services. Well, now he wants JSN one-on-one all game. I love the confidence, I do, but I don't want to see that matchup all game. I think that's a bad matchup for him. I do.
JSN's been cooking up Stingley. He's been cooking up Terrell, who just shut down Puka the other night in a lot of the game, outside of here and there. Lenore's not, if he goes one-on-one in man coverage, I'm not trying to be a homer here with JSN. That's the one thing that in man coverage, one-on-one, that he was destroying teams right and left throughout the course of this year. That's how he got in the Calvin Johnson pace. His teams are like, no, we're not going to play zone. Well, man, yeah, we'll just he's going to get, but hey, you love the confidence. I know corners got to operate like that. I don't think you want to give teams bulletin board material in a game like this where there's already enough vitriol and all of that on point with it. But we'll see on that, how that one goes. And I definitely don't think I think Saul is going to tap him on his head and go, yeah, that's nice. We'll be in zone.
yeah,
dropping 7.
So. I think
we got one real quick too. This thing happened where Keon put a donation in right before we went live at 2:55. So I don't think it actually shows up on your side. So Keon, sorry about this in StreamYard. If you put a donation before the start of the show, it doesn't show up. I can see it because I just happened to check here, but if it doesn't show up on Jesse's end at that point, once he goes to 3:00. So I'm going to read your donation, but I can't show it on the screen necessarily.
Hold on, I might be able to find it here.
It's the one at the very, very top, 255.
Oh, you know what? Nope. It won't let me go.
This happened to Zbot too. Yeah, it happened to Zbot too. Sorry about this, Keon. It's some problem with StreamYard if you put the dono just before the stream. He says, sure, Brock Purdy's playing well. He ain't out there tackling. Oh, you read this one. He ain't out there tackling for us like your boy Sam. My bad. That's my bad. See, I'm blame brain today. My bad.
Dylan says Seahawks and 49ers at the top of where the stakes couldn't be higher. Wouldn't want it any other way. Prime NFL football.
How cool
That
is it,
it
man? We
is.
got the three best teams potentially like in football this year, note for note, and it's in this division. As hard as this fought this division's been for the past 10 years as it is already, as good as the division's in through so many years has been the best in all of football, Jesse, where year in, year out, you can just about say, like, we're the best again this year. We're the best again this year. And again, we have it almost at the height of our powers once again. It's just another just cool layer to this game, cool layer to the season. Just part of that storybook aspect of things, huh?
NFL is a lot better when the 49ers and Seahawks are both good. I'll say that right now. I mean, this rivalry is a really good one. And at its peak with the Harbaugh Carroll thing, there was nothing better in football. Nothing better in football, in my opinion.
No, that was great.
The Lord Disciple says, I wouldn't sleep on this defense, Jesse. I'm the last person to sleep on the Seahawks defense. I've been talking them up. Brandon will tell you, I've been talking them up for 3 seasons. It just hasn't really come to fruition until this year. So listen, I'm not sleeping on those guys at all. Harris says, how much will Ricky Pearsall be a factor? He had 108 yards and 4 receptions in week 1. He's going to be a factor. I don't know if the stats are going to be there. You got to remember a lot of that came on one play with Reek Woolen. Reek Woolen single-handedly lost that game for you guys. Absolutely crazy how that happened. But either way, I don't know that the overall yards will be there. I actually think he'll probably have more catches, though. And he's going to be a factor in one way or another, whether that's getting other people open or not. But when Ricky Pearsall's on the field, the 49ers are better. Make no mistake about it, for sure.
Yeah, I took the over on the 3.5 receptions for him on Sleeper. So I think he's definitely going to be the guy that I would point to in this game that probably comes away with the most receptions for your Niners of any of your players in this game. Maybe save for CMC.
Well, before we get to that 50 burger over on your channel, let's hit Sleeper real quick. Let's make some picks. So we're both sponsored by Sleeper. You can get a 100% deposit match of up to $100 when you use promo code LSS or promo code NEST. Either way, you'll get that 100% deposit match and a free $20 play without even making a deposit when you use that promo code and sign up. And I will tell you right now through tomorrow, 49ers fans, we're wearing the rivalry jerseys this coming week on Saturday against Seattle. I'm giving away a size large Bosa rivalry jersey when you sign up for Sleeper. Deposit at least $10 using promo code LSS. All you have to do is email me a screenshot showing that you've done so, or you can DM me on any of the social medias, whatever tickles your fancy, to be entered to win that jersey. And if you're having trouble finding Sleeper in the Play Store or Apple, whatever, you can find it. Link is pinned to the top of both of our descriptions, so you can check them out there. That being said, let's make some picks for this game, brother. You tell me what you see on your end. I'm letting you know right now, if I see a McCaffrey touchdown, I'm definitely taking it.
Okay.
So let me actually, I'm going to go to.
They might put 2 on that one for him just because they know everyone's grabbing that one.
Yeah. Can we get one in here? I feel like it's almost like a lock that he scores. So it was on here the other day. They've taken it down. Yeah. So I'm glad I got one in before then, because otherwise. Yeah.
So I'm taking both the passing yards for the quarterbacks. I'm doing both of the over.
I like this. Okay, I like this. I'm with you on this, by the way. I think Sam Darnold's not going to have problems with the yards. Where I would be worried for him is maybe some turnovers, but he's not going to have a problem getting to 240, in my opinion, and neither is Brock.
Agreed. The 2 picks I had on mine too, and you can, I'll let you make the call. The one I did was the Charbonnet rushing yards for over, I think it's 31.5 yards for him rushing.
Okay.
And then I had over on Parasol's catches.
41.5 for Charbonnet.
41.5 yards for Charbonnet. And I think that when you look at the last game, remember what happened last game? Kurt Warner has a foot go up and hit him in the face, and he's out for a series in that football game. And that was the one drive that Seattle Seahawks were able to execute to get down the field and score. And it was by and large running up in between the tackles with Charbonnet downhill. I think that that's going to loom large coming to this game down Fred Warner, and that they're going to work him, and especially with Charbonnet coming off his career best day last week.
Okay. I'm going to take CMC on the more as well. They're going to need him. So We'll do that, and we'll center it right there. We'll put 10 down on it. 10 down to win 67-10. So we got Sam Darnold on the more, Charbonnet on the more, CMC on the more, and Purdy on the more. You can tail us or you can fade us, but make sure you use promo code LSS or promo code NEST when you do so, and join Sleeper today. All right, let's get back to these super chats. We got the almighty dog that says, Happy New Year, both of you. Hopefully we see a banger of a game on Saturday. Oh, we will. Use this to buy some boom booms to ring in the new year. Also, the Hawks are going to show the whiners what belt to ass means.
Hey, let's go. Let me get the little applause on that one. Thank you, Almighty. And, I'm getting this thing ready. I'm gonna have this thing on hand for this Sunday. So it's coming.
I love it.
It's coming.
Brent says if the Niners tackle can't play, sign Haywood Jablomi. Nice, good one, bud. That's the Simpsons when he would always call into the bar like, Is Haywood Jablomi there? He's like, yeah, he's there. Yeah, hey, is there Haywood Jablomi? Nice. Well
Listen,
played.
I'm trying to tell you. Sorry, hey, Jablomi. Yeah, he always repeat like 3 times too. And everybody start laughing.
BNA says, time to activate our sleeper agent, Sam. Order 66.
It's like Winter Soldier is like Niner, Golden Gate, Hills, Ashbury, Sam. Manchurian candidates,
Brother Bob says, Brandon, when did Walker become such a B-boy? Ooh, when did Walker? What's he referring to?
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, him and Lenore went back, and this all started last year. Walker and Lenore disliking each other, man. That started last year. Lenore was running his mouth per usual. Walker drove him into the ground. Lenore didn't like it, and ever since then, they've not liked each other. So, yeah. Listen, you know what though? I'll say this, Brandon. You talked about the Lenore thing, and he's bringing up Walker. This is what we want. I hate the whole buddy. We're friends with everybody on the other team. Like, we grew up in an era where that was not the case. And it was real, like, there was a real rivalry. Now you see it, and it's like, a lot of these guys come into the NFL and they're like, I didn't even watch the NFL. I'm just good at football, and so I just play. I don't know. Puka Nacua is a great example. I didn't even know what division we were in. I didn't even know it's like, okay, man, have some pride for the team you play for and hate the team that's a rival. Know a little bit about them at least. Like, make it something. It's more fun for the fans when we know that you guys hate each other. So
I 100% agree. And that's this rivalry, especially. We think back to 10 years ago and what, like you say, with Harbaugh and how that permeated down through the players and how you would feel out of the course of the game and how close everything always felt to just about a fist fight. And that it brought the intensity level up. And with the intensity level, it brought a better brand of football with it. And that's why you want this stuff so badly, is because when you get it, you get the best version of football at play. So I celebrated it too. I jokingly say you don't want to give the guy, the bulletin board, but it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. And good. I'm glad that they're going to go at that. And I hope everybody comes out, rip roaring and at their hottest on this. And I expect they will, especially with the stakes at play.
I love it. 808 Niner says the 2 guys that worry me are Tank and Big Cat.
Lawrence has been a good player for us. I know I'm seeing like I'm just but this is why where we're at, right?
What does he have? 3 touchdowns on the season?
Yeah, he's
got
more
3 touchdowns than
tutties.
Ricky Pearsall. Like, what the hell, dude? It's like...
And got another one here recently too. He had another one this week there. He caused the fumble, picked the ball up, and was going to run it in, but he was down before the you know what I mean. So like this defense loves big edges that come off that extra wide 9 and they come downhill and then they got the tackle and they get about an extra step or 2 of explosiveness to build it up. So if you're already a naturally strong dude, this defense really, this is why Jadeveon Clowney had a career year in this defense, right? Is it really just makes that bloom in this defense. And so he comes off that edge, and even if you're a strong tackle, you give that guy an extra yard or 2. That's why you see a lot of these offensive coordinators now chipping. Like the Rams have this a lot with Verse, where they'll chip him into the tackle with the tight end or the running back so that they don't get that extra width off there, because those strong guys become almost impossible to contain at that point when they're coming up with that much speed. And we do that with Derek Hall, and Lawrence is that way. But he's just a good all-around defender. He's smart. He hustles. I mean, I'm going to, certainly seem like I'm just homering out here, but with Big Cat and Tank, the thing that these guys have done, they're all these vets, Julian Love too, is that these are guys with like tens of millions of dollars in the bank. You know, these are guys that haven't tasted any form of winning in their career really on the organization they've been. They came here and and in Lawrence's case, he's brought his game up another level since arriving here. And in Lawrence's or in Williams's case, it's been that way. It's been that way with Lawrence as well. And you're getting guys that are leading these young kids. We're the third youngest roster in all of football. And these guys are showing this defense and these young kids like Witherspoon and Emanwari. Here's the standard. I've made my money. I've got my all pros. I've got my Pro Bowls. I could just go out there, get my sack numbers right now. I could go do my just middle of the road, collect my check, go through. I want greatness. I want to actually go out there and win something. And if we want to be this way, here's what this is going to take. You know what, young fellas? This is going to take full participation in the offseason OTAs. This is going to take intensity and practice every day in training camp. And even this isn't going to guarantee it, but this is the bare minimum of what it takes if we want to take this next step. And those guys have, beyond the addition they brought to the field, they've brought that spirit to the play that just, you feel the ripple effect on downward through. And I think that is a big part of why we find ourselves where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Wu-Tang Forever says, this is the real rivalry in the West. Love it when both teams are a threat. Happy 2026 to both of y'all. Expect JSN to break Lenore's ankles. The route ninja skills are mad dangerous. Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun one to watch. Happy New Year. Stay safe for sure. PGZ says he's adding to the hat bet. You ready for this one?
Ooh.
He says, adding to the hat bet. I got a $300 Brock Purdy card I will donate to a fan of your choice. So if the Niners win, he's going to donate a Brock Purdy card. A pretty expensive one, it sounds like, to a fan of my choice. I love this. Okay.
Let's go.
Brother
Let's
Bob
go, PGZ.
Says, Brandon, all good. You just need more. All right, dude. Oh my, you're out of control with this. Christopher says, NFC West, nah. NFC best. I agree with this.
NFC best, nah. NFC beast.
Oh, yeah. I like it even more. Mark Sanchez tapping in from jail, I assume. We wished, prayed, and now answered. I've been looking for this since week 1. Let's get it. Hawks. Yeah, I got to imagine this is one that all Hawks fans have wanted for 17 weeks, and here it is. So
Shanahan walked in. He's come in. He's had our numbers like Harbaugh reborn here. It's like, you guys, your coach, he comes in, has our number. We got no answers. We throw everything at him in the kitchen sink. Can't find any answers until finally we hire the right coach. Until finally we build up that team. Until finally we are ready to finally take down that big bad bully. Hopefully history repeats itself this week.
We will see. Dylan says, I recall Woolen getting targeted to the point of fans calling him a liability in week 1. Do you expect Kyle Shanahan to target him the same way?
No, because I don't expect him to be on the field at the same rate. And look, Woolen's turned around some early play this season and been fairly solid across the board. But Job has been pretty good for us on the outside. And then Witherspoon has been really good for us on the outside. So you're not going to see Woolen out there unless you guys go into 4 wide receiver looks, which you don't do very often. So probably not going to see him unless there's an injury out there.
Brother Bob says Walker is running back 2 now because he's trash. Like that flag. He hates that flag, man.
4.5 yard per carry average is pretty good. I hope I could be that trash.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, listen, we're an hour in, and you and I tend to go long. I don't want to go forever, but we do have to have this Sam Darnold conversation because we've back and forth on this one, just like we did Geno Smith. And I do want to clear some things up because I think, especially on the NFC West roundtable, obviously we're in full fan mode over there. I go a little hard on really on everybody that's not the 49ers. I want to say, I think Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. Like, let me clear that up. I do think he's a good quarterback. However, I think you can be a good player and also maybe fold a little bit in big time moments. And I think right now, I'm not saying this is who he has to be forever. He certainly can turn things around at any time. Much like I used to talk about with Brock Purdy and the weather. I'm like, listen, when it gets wet outside, it's objectively true that Brock Purdy doesn't play well when there's moisture in the air. And that's true until it's not. And that's what I look at with Sam Darnold. I know I've seen it with my eyes, and you can see it with the stats. Like, when the games get big down the stretch, very important. So far, it hasn't been great. During the season this year, I pulled up the stat of the 7 playoff teams that he's played. He's got 8 touchdown passes to 10 interceptions. I just feel like maybe he puts a little too much pressure on himself and he doesn't perform at the level that he should or could in those games. And that is true until it's not. That's essentially my stance on Sam Darnold. I know that you think he's a really good quarterback. He's proven that out over the last couple of years. I think you do think that he's better than what I think he is. I don't think he's bad by any means. Like I said, I do think he's a good player. I think you think he's better than what I do. But you don't seem to be worried about the things that I'm talking about when it comes to, maybe some of the big time games and whatnot. So why don't we talk about this a little bit, Brandon?
All right. Yeah, we got a lot to unpack, I think, on that. Well, I guess first off, when you say you think he's a pretty good quarterback, what is that? Because it's always the ethereal ranking of where we're at with the quarterbacks in this season, right here and now. Where do you put that as far as your outlook of his ranking? Just on before we get to the point about the shrinking in the moments and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that he's a borderline at his best. I think he's like anywhere from 10 to 15 would be a fair ranking of Sam Darnold as far as, at his best. Yeah. No,
that's fair. So we're very close in the outlook of where we come to the where the ranking comes in at, and some of this is to the greater discussion as a whole of what you need from the quarterback position to go to the Super Bowl and what's required. So yeah, we are kind of close there. I think that it's fair enough to say that Sam can be looser and freer with the ball than other quarterbacks can be. I think that's certainly absolutely fair, and that's something that you're going to get with him. I think that while turnovers are bad, that doesn't then necessarily immediately then say, well, that then hence makes him a quarterback of limitation or a quarterback that can't get you to a Super Bowl. Because that's what we're talking about at the end of the day. Can it get you a Super Bowl? Can it win you a Super Bowl? And that's really where the discussion's at for me on this. Because if it's not that, then what are we talking about? I don't rankings and all that's kind of irrelevant. It's really down to, can the guy get you there? Can he take you and get you the win? When we talk about the back half of the schedule and the turnovers, Titans 30 points, Vikings 26 points, Falcons 37 points. You're down to 18 against the Colts, come back with 38 points to the Rams and 27 points last week to the Panthers. So the turnovers are a part of that you talk about in this back half of the schedule, but the baseline bottom line on this is that you also have a lot of blowouts within there. You're not exactly throwing the ball all around the field. And while that's why I might point to and say that stat alone wouldn't be a great representation of how he's faded down somehow the stretch. Especially with the commitment to run the ball, especially with how they limit down the passing attempts, it's going to limit down your ability to be as productive in throwing the ball. I think that when it comes to this narrative about the bright lights or that when you need him most, that he will fail to give you some rope back to your side. You're giving me rope back to my side. There certainly could be the case that we come to find out that when we get enough data, I would say, to make that determination, we can make it. And maybe yourself in this position, and you're not alone in this, that many others that have this outlook of Sam were ahead of this and are seeing something inherently there that was structurally broken inside of him that will rear itself and will be proven true. What this comes down to, though, of that assessment and what you base it upon is you got a Rams game that they play last year in regular season that's pointed to. I'm not necessarily saying this is what you're saying, but this is what I hear in general terms, okay? So I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. The Rams game in the regular season, the Lions game leading up to the playoffs against the Rams, and then the Rams playoff game. So we have a 3-game sample size that we're really working off with a guy that around that 3-game sample size has performed really well. And there's actually been a lot of big games that he had to perform, including coming into Seattle last year with us, having something on the line, playing for something and beating us in our own house. So that's where I sometimes draw this. I see these people reaching this conclusion a little bit and I go, that's really a very small amount of sample size. And when you unpack them and you don't just try to throw them all 3 together and sort of stack them, but actually unpack those losses, he played good in the first half of the Rams game. He loses Darisaw and then that's it. And that game ends on a brutal face mask penalty that if it had not been called, he got the 15 yards. He's proven this year he can bring you down from behind with the game on the line. And I know that you and I have had a lot of discussions about that being one of the places that you hold in high esteem for quarterbacks is when I need a drive at the end of the game, can you go get me that drive? And I think that when you talk about a guy shrinking in these moments, it'll happen in big games. I think I would also expect to see it if it's a part of who they are when the game's on the line, when there is no room for error, when there is only, if you fail here, we fail. And instead of that, I've got games like the Cardinals. I've got games like the Rams last week. I've got games like the first Ram game where, okay, you throw the 4 interceptions. So he should just shrink there. He should be shot. In fact, put Drew Lock on the field because he's done. He is in his head. He is toast. but instead you get a touchdown drive from him at the end. Then you get him driving up the field from the 1 yard line after the Rams punter puts it on the half-yard line with 40 seconds left, gets it up the field to get you into field goal range to go and then get you a field goal attempt. I think that just from my standpoint, again, could be proven right, but I think there's a lot of data here to say that it's not as distinctly clear as that's the case with him. And it gets so hammered, Jesse. It gets so overblown. It gets so just hit and hit. And again, it may be proven true, but when I hear something getting hit that hard with so little data to fall back upon, it does raise up the hankles a little bit where I'm like, I don't know as much there. I think we're trying to kind of jump a little bit to conclusions.
Yeah, I think with Sam, the whole ghost thing, he'll never shake that. I swear, it that is what it is. But I looked at him in college. He turned the ball over quite a bit, and early on in his career, he turned over the ball quite a bit. I do think he's cleaned it up the last couple seasons for sure. To a certain extent, he definitely gets a little loose with the ball. But I was so confident in it, Brandon, that if you remember week 1, my prediction was exactly what came true, which was game's going to be on the line. Sam Darnold's going to be driving him down the field. He's going to get strip sacked by Bosa. That's how the game's going to end. And that's literally what happened. And I just don't trust him. I guess, it is.
Can I ask you that? Can I ask you something real quick on the, do you look at that strip sack Bosa play as a failure on Sam there?
Listen, I think that obviously he was getting pressure from both ends. It is a failure on the protection, but you know that the pressure was there. You see it, and you still get too loose with the ball. You just can't turn the ball over in that scenario, in my opinion. Like quarterbacks, you can't stop pressure from happening, but you can decide a lot of the time. You can decide whether that's a sack or maybe something a little bit worse, and you got to tuck the ball and keep it, in my opinion. And so I don't know. I just feel like the misfortune of turnovers follows Sam and I think that he's plays a huge part in those turnovers.
I think the turnover, again, is completely a fair thing to point to on it. I just like that play, for instance, that gets brought up where it's, to me, there's interceptions, there's fumbles. Not all fumbles are on quarterbacks. He's looking to the read to the left side of the field. His head's turned away from Bosa. It's not long pressure. It's not like long enduring pressure. It's quick pressure by Bosa, which what Bosa's done is set Lucas up for that moment. I think it's as much a great play by one of the best edge defenders in the sport when he's playing, and picking a moment in the game where he's made a great play, as much as it's Sam being loose and free with the ball in that situation, especially considering that the read's taking his head this way and the pressure is coming from this side. He has no way to really see it, and it's happening that fast. And as well in that's also in the midst of a drive where after you guys scored a touchdown, he took you down 5 plays, 52 yards to be knocking on the door. Yeah. So it's like, again, if he's shrinking up, shouldn't he have shrunk a little bit kind of prior, I guess, to it? Again, saying, I think the turnover thing is a fair thing. I also think that the turnover thing can be a part of what he is, and he can still go win you a Super Bowl trophy. I don't think that becomes a thing that is this thing that holds him back in that way. And specifically for this reason, I won't hammer this too much longer, but right now I think we're moving into a place in the NFL where the game is changing. And the game is changing back to a place where this game's playing almost a little bit more akin at times to like it was in the late 80s. And what you look at in the late 80s when you look at the stats from quarterbacks at that time is you see the interceptions going through the roof because the game is really hard. It's going back to Kirk Cousins. I know you heard the soundbite a couple of weeks ago, and Cousins talking about the way the game has changed and going from half-field reads back to progression basis. And what this is going to cause is quarterbacks across the board to have more uptick in interceptions. More fumbles will be caused. I almost guarantee you when you look at the stats this year on the number of interceptions thrown, the number of fumbles this year, there will be an uptick across the board in the NFL because now it's become harder to play the quarterback position, specifically because the spread concepts that were proliferating in the 2010s have had to start to get dialed back down with the cover 2 shell proliferation, and that's gone with teams back to under center. Now I need the quarterback turning his back to the defense at times on play action, coming out of that, trying to have to throw a quick ball sometimes to the defender right in their face. And it makes things where there's tip balls happening now, more interceptions off the tip balls. That's why I was saying the other night on the roundtable where you have his 14 interceptions. The fumbles are one thing, but the 14 interceptions is kind of right in alignment with where pretty much the mean is at for those quarterbacks that have started for 17 games this year. He's right in that spot of things. So I'm not saying that you're not wrong and that the interceptions are a thing that is an issue there. He did show corrections from the Rams game, that 4 interception game that happened, and that does kind of juice the numbers up a lot, because there's only been a couple of interceptions since then. And he didn't do it because he just kind of lucked into it. He did it because he started to stop doing the superhero stuff. It's like Brock. Stop doing when it goes wrong for you, it's when you're trying to do too much and over and not just like letting the game come to you. Throw the check down pounce, be willing to do that and use your legs. And he started to do those things since that game. And that's a big part of the reason why those interceptions have gone down.
Yeah, they definitely have. One thing that Sam has traditionally done though is he will fumble the ball quite a bit too. I know that you don't lose all the fumbles, but he has 10 on the season. And that if you look at him historically, a lot of his turnovers have been fumbles. Like he just fumbles the ball. Like whatever. Again, some of that's pressure, some of that's not his fault, but he just always finds a way to put the ball on the ground. I mean, that's an average of not even one every other game. That's, more than that. That's just, it's a lot. It's a lot of opportunities for defenses to take advantage of, whether it's the interceptions or the fumbles, what have you. He just gets a little loose with the ball. Let me ask you this, just straight up question. Um, Sometimes, most of the time, it's way more nuanced than who the better quarterback is, right? Like I get that. There's a lot to this game, and it's not just about Sam versus Brock, but let's say the game's on the line. You need one quarterback to go get it for you. Who do you trust more, Sam or Brock, and why?
I think I'm not going to try to split the difference here, but I would trust him equivalently, to be honest with you. I think that Brock certainly has done more at this point in time of his career to, yeah, he's got the playoff wins, but he's also had more of the opportunity to have those moments happen than Sam has. Sam just became the starter again for the first time, really got his first true second chance again there back with the Vikings last year in a team that actually could make some noise, a team that wasn't the New York Jets or the Carolina Panthers. So some of this is a bit of a product in the success of Brock of having a great environment he walked into. And it's not that Brock isn't a good quarterback, and I have a lot of respect for him. That's quite the opposite. I think that he has become a very good quarterback as far as in that same realm of kind of Sam. 10 to 15-ish is about where I'd put it, to be honest with you. But I think that with both of them, I'd have been about the same place. And I think both of them have some clutchiness to them when it comes to those moments, quite honestly. I do. And I think Sam, multiple times over this year, the Colts game, as bad as the offense is, goes down and gets you a field goal. Oh, your defense allows a field goal right back after you just got the game-winning field goal. Guess he's got to go do it again. Does it again. I have a lot of times this year, like that Niner game, driving to the field, Buccaneer game. Okay, there's an interception there. It goes off of a helmet. Short passing attack, West Coast offense. I don't have to tell you this is what you're going to get in this offense. Tip balls go up in the air. They're going to get picked. If you want to avoid that, you can run the offense like we had prior with Wilson and Carroll, who never targeted the middle of the field. And why did Carroll never do that? Because that's where interceptions happen. How did the interceptions happen? By the tip balls. It's like the price of doing business is a little bit at play here from my standpoint when it comes to that stuff. But I think on both cases, I would trust with both. I think they both have proven that they can bring you from behind. And I think Sam's done it multiple times over this year to my eyes. And it's not been made easy, by the way. It's not like, oh, it's just that he's out there handing it off and then he has to make one or two throws. By often, you're not being able to run it all. There's little time on the clock on a lot of these drives. There's no timeouts in a lot of these cases, and he's still finding a way and making it happen.
Yeah, I think, and as well as anybody, I'm no issue being critical of Brock Purdy. And I'm saying this more for the guys watching it on your channel that maybe don't know about me and think that, he's just a homer, he's gonna back Brock no matter what. Listen, I got a lot of 49er fans who are at my neck because I won't bend the knee to Brock Purdy being this elite quarterback, franchise guy, what have you. That being said, I really do trust Brock in those situations. Last week was a great example. I knew when they got the ball and they were down and they needed a touchdown, I'm like, he's got it. It's going to happen. Like I trust him in those situations. And sometimes it's pure luck. Don't get me wrong. We saw it week 1 against Seattle, that throw, I don't even know if that was a 50-50 throw. That might've been a 20-80 throw in favor of the Seahawks, and Woolen flubbed it. But man, sometimes I'm telling you, Brock just has a lucky rabbit's foot shoved way up his rear end, because that dude gets lucky sometimes, but he's just not afraid of the moment, man. That's one thing I will guarantee you. Brock is not afraid of that moment. He will take the risk. He'll do whatever it takes to try to win that game. And whether it works out for him or not, that's a whole different story. But I really, truly trust Brock in those situations more than a lot of quarterbacks that I think are better than Brock. And so I would say for me, this is a slam dunk. I would take Brock Purdy in that situation over Sam Darnold, no question.
And so maybe we get to where the heart of the disagreement here too on the grander scale of this debate that we have. What you're saying within that is that that's a little bit of the final layer to the Purdy player experience that allows him to be able to win a Super Bowl, and that you feel like that's the last layer that Sam Darnold has missing that prevents him from winning a Super Bowl. Since at the end of the day, it sounds like in a lot of ways in talking to you that the assessment of these two players is pretty close on when we want to get to the just the pure ranking goes within the sport.
Yeah, a pure ranking, I don't think they're more than, maybe two apart. Or, when they're both at their best, they're both right there. I just think, for me, what separates them is who do I feel like I can trust fully, and Brock is one of those guys that I feel like I can trust fully, and I think that does matter. It does for me, anyways.
I totally get it, but I do think that's also a little bit, that's buoyed a little bit by the fact he's had those opportunities in the playoffs to show that and prove it to you.
Sure.
Where Sam's got one playoff experience last year with his offensive line completely in the dirt. Like, just that's the part that, again, nobody ever mentions about with it is like, and everyone wants to say, well, it was O'Connell doesn't look so brilliant this year with McCarthy, and then they go, well, that's the reason. Well, that's the reason. Well, that's the reason, which those haven't really held up as much, but that line was completely in tatters and ruins by the end of the year. And I don't know who quarterback was going to succeed in that environment at that point, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think, and I think it's interesting because I've been on the other side of this argument when it comes to Kirk Cousins is a great example of this. It's like, primetime Kirk, he sucks in primetime. And I'm like, okay, but Kirk Cousins is a good player. I don't care what anybody says. Like, Kirk's a dog. He's a top 10 guy. At worst, he's 12 and he puts up numbers. He does what he does, and he just hasn't had the opportunities in the playoffs. Then he did have the big win. I think it was against the Saints in the playoffs. And was like, well, see, he can perform in those situations. So I get it. I understand where you're coming from, where it's like, come on, man. Like, you can't look at the totality of who he's been and just be like, yeah, he's a good player. Because I've defended Kirk Cousins in the same way that you're defending Sam Darnold, the exact same way you're defending Sam Darnold, in fact. So I do understand where you're coming from.
It's on him to prove it. And he's going to get his opportunity now, right? Like, this is going to be less, there's no theoretical here when we get to the end of the offseason and you're talking on the round table. Like, the rubber now meets the road, and it's all been a little theoretical. Well, now we will truly see. And if he has the opportunity to say nothing of having a very healthy team at this point going in the offseason and having great versus last year, having a number one bye, if that is what happens with it, like there's no excuses that will be had for me on that. And that we'll have this a lot more clearer, I think, settled when we get to that point in time to understand it for what it is.
Yeah, listen, if Sam Darnold comes out on Saturday and absolutely balls out of his mind and plays a relatively clean game and the Seahawks win this thing, I'll give it to him. I'll definitely give it to him. And I'll be watching closely in the playoffs. And, if he's a catalyst as to why they win, or even if they lose, listen, I have no problem separating quarterback play from wins and losses. Sometimes quarterbacks play bad and the team wins, and sometimes quarterbacks play really good and the team loses. That's it. It will have no bearing on whether the Seahawks win or lose and how I judge Sam Darnold at the end of the day. If he's playing good football and the Seattle Seahawks lose, he's still played good football, and I'll give him credit for that. So I have no problem changing my mind, but I'm going to be watching close this coming Saturday through the playoffs, and very well could be that I come to the end of that thing and I go, you know what, Brandon, you were right. I was wrong. Sam did his thing. Give him all the credit in the world. But it could be the other way too, where you're like, all right, maybe I shouldn't have defended him to the death. He does have some, turnover prone stuff and weird moments. It's time to kind of bend the knee the other way. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm willing to come off the take is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm as well. To me, it's always coming back to the old thing that I once heard. It's like, it's about getting it right, not being right. And that you want to get it right. And that sometimes we're all going to have stuff that we have as a take initially, but you want new data to change the take as new data comes in to move the needle. And so if I come to find out, I'll be open to this side of it and that this is the potentiality of it. It's just when I come to faith, it ain't just the Sam, it's the historical markers to this is in watching football for the decades I have, and that what it takes to get over the top, what you need, what are the goods that you have to have in your bag to get there. And I like my chances with them, and especially the team. It's like we've had multiple games this year. We've lost the turnover war, multiple games. And we've had blowouts in those games over and over again, where it almost speaks to the strength of this team as a whole that you've built, that it doesn't come as much around that quarterback, and as far as the centric as it would for other teams, they're almost really wholly driven by that quarterback position.
Absolutely. Dazza says, did either of you see that Pat Surtain, the second episode where Sherm told the background of how the feud with Crabtree started? I did not see that, actually. Did you?
Yeah, there was a basketball event I had long known the story even before that, but he did a
charity basketball event, right?
It was, charity basketball event. Yeah. And it was supposed to be, everybody was like, cool, and like it's one of those things, like, we're off the field, so like we don't need to carry that stuff. To your point though earlier about the hate thing that existed, and this is the thing that got lost in the Richard Sherman rant. You test me with the best, that's what's going to happen. You test me, like that whole rant. This all came from this place. So Crabtree started popping off in this thing and started talking about what he was going to do to him when it came to the regular season and how he was going to go for 150 and 2 tutties and all this on Sherman. And Sherman's like, oh, okay. And, that's with Sherman. He's already feisty. He rolls out of bed feisty. You're gonna turn that guy up on top of it. Like it probably wasn't the best of ideas by Crabtree, especially that's not really who Crabtree was. Like I don't think of Crabtree as being like a, I don't know. But it was,
great number one kind of receiver or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was fine. He's a solid player, but like
he got under people's skin because if you remember when he went to the Raiders and Aqib Talib snatched his chain and the whole thing. Yeah, dude.
Twice.
He got twice. I know. He got under people's skin for sure. So there's something to that. There definitely is.
You guys got one of those receivers.
What was that?
You got one of those receivers.
What, right now, Jennings? Oh yeah. Yeah, Jennings is definitely that. Yeah.
What are you saying to a man to get a man to pop a man in the nuts on a football field with a closed fist?
I don't know, but listen, man, he's our Draymond Green. Just let it happen. Jordan says Brock Cindy Lou Who Purdy will not be dancing on Saturday. All right, we'll see.
I'm worried about his scrambling in this game. I'll tell you that because we run front four and we run those stunts. You saw the Bears running that stunt in this game. You run that inside stunt. The other guy doesn't get to the edge with enough width. Purdy's like, oh, right there. I'll just go take that for 9 yards. So, and we don't want to blitz. So it's like, that's the hard part about rushing the passer with him on that. And I don't envy Mike on having to kind of figure that out.
I don't care what Seahawks fans think or say. I know that they think exactly like we used to with Russell Wilson, which is like that little bastard is going to just do something with his legs that is going to drive me nuts in this game. And every single time that it seems like you got him under wraps, he's going to make something magic happen and it's going to screw us. And I just, you can see it coming from a mile away. I know for a fact Seahawks fans feel that way about Purdy. You just have to at this point. You have to.
100%. It drives Mike crazy. He talks about it all the time. He's like, the mobile quarterbacks are the ones that just annoy the hell out of you as a defensive coordinator above all else because you play the play well for 1 second, for 2 seconds, for 3 seconds, for 4 seconds, for 5 seconds. And then into second 6 is when he's able to, at that point, cut you apart. And that's just really hard to defend that long. And it's hard to build that into your game plan when so much what you're doing route concepts is to hit stuff to a landmark at a certain time when the route's cutting in, not to hit the landmark route cutting in and then go get back up on the quarterback. Like he just wants the guys to be able to sit back in coverage and take everything away. So it's a big neutralizing factor to this defense, especially because you're not blitz heavy and you're not going to bring necessarily a lot of pressure in that way as a way to kind of manufacture it.
What's up, Bryce? He says,
let's go,
Happy
Bryce.
New Year's, Jesse.
Hold on, let me get the applause real quick. Thank you, Bryce.
Happy New Year's, Jesse and Brandon. So glad this show happened. This is the duo I've been waiting to hear discuss this matchup. Well, we appreciate you, Bryce.
Let's go, Bryce.
Much. Samir says, please each award MVP, DPOY, Rookie of the Year to your respective rosters. Oh, this is good. This is good. MVP is definitely CMC for the 49ers. He's been the constant all year long. It'd be hard to not say him. Defensive player of the year, I would probably have to go with Lenore just because he's been the only constant and he's the best player on that defense right now. And rookie of the year, I'm going to go Alfred Collins, man. I think Alfred Collins has been a big difference maker. I was
going to ask you about him.
Yeah.
I wanted to, he made that great play in the Rams game, of course, the goal line, saving that game for you guys. But I wanted to ask you about him. So scouting evaluation coming out, I liked him as a 3-tech run stuffer. Has he expanded with the pass rush, or has he also has he just reinforced with being a great 3-tech stuffer? Has he been able to go to the 1-tech at times to be a nose tackle for you with his size?
No, he's still mainly a 3-tech. Very good run defense. He does a lot what he did in college, where he'll bat the ball down or get his arms up. He's even made a couple plays on special teams with blocked field goals, what have you. Uses that length and that size. He still needs to refine his pass rush, but it seems like he's anytime the game calls for it, all of a sudden he gets a bull rush out of nowhere and puts somebody in the lap of the quarterback. So he
Mm.
definitely makes timely plays as a pass rusher, but snap in and snap out, he's not like a menace in the pass rush game by any means.
That size carried over. Sometimes you see those college football players and they're big on a college field, but you're like, then they get them in
Yeah.
NFL pads and they start to kind of get to the normalized size of everybody else.
Yeah.
And he's a big guy that looks big on the field too. I'm going
Huge.
to go, I'll go Jackson Smith-Njigba as the MVP. Hard to beat that one. A defensive player of the year. I might have to share it between Big Cat and DeMarcus Lawrence, quite honestly. I think both of those two guys have been fairly equivalent in the impact that they brought, and it's been very nice to have him as an extra edge. Lawrence, we got 4 rotations. I feel bad for you guys. I feel like I'm bragging. You're at your 1, 2 guys. You know, we got 4 deep. We can go at the freaking position. Or we can almost go 5 deep. Even Mike Morris is in there. Rookie of the year, I'm going to go with Nick Emanwari.
Yeah.
It don't get a better than
right
that.
answer.
That's Zabel's been solid for us, but Emanwari's been a difference maker, and I can't deny that.
Jordan says, I actually see Sam playing better in the fourth quarter. I do see him look tense early on, but that looks more to me on the play calling and lack of progressions to go to. Okay.
There could be something with that. I will say too, again, with Kubiak, love what he's brought. He's been a much better offensive coordinator than what we've had in recent years. I love the Shanahan offense. I never want to leave, but there are some weird game plans, man. There are some game plans where it's like you play Minnesota Vikings, but you're not prepared for the blitz. You play you guys in the opening week and you're trying to live in shotgun on some of the early drives. Just some counterintuitive things we do offensively at times that just make you kind of go, you didn't set neither Sam nor the offense up in the best situation there. Coobs.
Mark Sanchez says a player that could swing the momentum is Barner. 50 receptions, 500 receiving yards, 7 TDs. Let's see that barnyard package on the goal line. Hawks 33, Niners 20.
You gotta watch out for that barnyard. When the barnyard comes out, baby, it's automatic, and don't you jump. He's got a hard count too, tougher than Rodgers. Not even a head bob, he'll get you. But the barnyard's real. He don't just catch, he runs it.
Wu-Tang Financial says, do we think Kittle will be well enough to be effective? Yes. He's always been a menace against us. Also, Shanning has been using CMC like a rental Mustang. Do we think he'll be at the peak of his powers? Yes and yes. And you're right.
That's so true. That's so true. He's blowing out the gears. He's changing without even hitting the shifter, you know?
Jeffrey says Sam could beat up Purdy in a fight. Yeah, but what if they breakdance battle? I'm taking Purdy. Throw down the cardboard, bro. Brother Bob says, bull crap. The product is mid compared to the 80s and 90s. Oh, going back to the comment earlier about this being, I think
it's not about the product.
No, it's about the style of play and how you win in the league is what he's saying.
And just the difficulty in playing quarterback. Spread concepts came in the teens, and what they did is they simplified, Bob, the quarterback position, bubble screens, a lot of just half field reads because you could just divvy up the defense and go to the weakness of the field. It really simplified, and that's why you saw so many young quarterbacks in the teens, starting with Robert Griffin, not needing any time on the bench. They could instantaneously just go out on the field and take flight. Whereas used to be the standard is you needed to give these guys a couple of years because the game's tough and you got to know a lot of different things. You got to understand your protections, your footwork under center. That's the other thing the spreads thing does, that I don't need to learn the under center stuff. We'll just live in shotgun all the time. So this is where the game with the shell and all that and taking away has made teams go back to the conventional now. And that's where it makes it harder to play the quarterback position.
Jack of no trades says literally nothing, but we appreciate you.
I love his emoji there.
It was great. Yeah, it was. Mark Sanchez says refs need to be better for this game for everyone. I agree. It's time. The NFL needs to have full-time referees. I'm tired of it. It's the
and streamline things.
Too big, too good. Double or triple these guys' pay. Make them a year-round employee. Make them do trainings. You know, whatever it is you got to do, but it's getting out of control. It's happening too much, man. It's ruining some games, and it's a shame. It really is.
I will say just quick on the ref on this game, whether they call it tight or they call it loose, just call it both ways and keep the consistency in the way you call that throughout the whole game. I'm okay with calls going against me. I'll just let it just stay consistent through the game so we know where the standard is at. The players know where the standard is at, and it doesn't have to change on the fly in the last 2 minutes suddenly.
Jeff says we paid the rest for this, so it's an easy game.
Let's go, Jeff. Well, well spent money right there.
He says everyone's jelly of our slinging Sammy boy. No, I don't think that's it.
He is the most talented
like
quarterback the Niners have had since Steve Young, according to the sources within that building. That's not me. That's not me.
That whole thing. You know what's funny is people on Twitter go back and take my tweets of me calling him Steve Young and joking about it. And they're like, "Well, you obviously liked Sam at one point." I'm like, "You idiots! You really don't know where this came from. Like, this is 100% sarcasm when I call him Steve Young. Stop it." Catalyst says, "Thanks guys for having a great conversation about this huge game coming up. Love the civility, back and forth debates, and being real. Keep it up, guys." Well, listen, man, we wouldn't have it any other way. No, sir. We can get up here and act a fool, but that's not neither of our DNA. So there you go.
No.
Jordan says the only thing Purdy does that irritates me is dancing. Well, prepare to be irritated because when he scores a rushing touchdown, it's happening.
If I can't match your dance moves, I can't talk. So.
Quinn will get it done. Says Lenore may talk smack, he can't back up, but at least he's not dumb enough to go after the refs like Puka. Fair.
Puka had a couple moments that lead up that week where it's like, woof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good, Puka.
Time out. I know. Dylan says, Jesse, how do you remember Crabtree? I remember people saying he had the best hands in football, but I never even thought he was good. Okay, well, barbershop talk, he's not good. Listen, I don't think he was ever a number one guy. I think the 49ers were constantly trying to find somebody that was a go-to guy ahead of them. That's why they brought in an aging Bolden and an aging Moss, hoping maybe they could, stir things up. Vernon Davis was obviously there. Frank Gore was the offense. I think he was an elite number two, but he just was always forced to be the number one. And I think if he's your number one receiver, then you might want to run the offense through somebody else, and the 49ers chose to do that. But I do think he was a good player. I will say, I think me personally, he did have really good hands, but I think his hands were overrated. Like if when I look at like great hands back then, Anquan Bolden was a guy that's like, no. You get those cutter gloves on Anquan Bolden, that guy was never dropping a damn thing. Didn't matter if there was traffic or what have you. Crabtree had his moments where he had some drops and some weird times. So I thought even the hands thing was a bit overrated personally.
About a little bit of Brandon Lloyd too, huh?
Oh, dude. Bro, his body control was... even when he went to the Broncos, it was insane, man. He had Chris Carter control of his body. It was crazy.
Yeah, he was nuts. Texas tape of Crabtree was next level, though.
Texas Tech. Bro, who was their quarterback? I'm trying to remember their quarterback that he made look really, really good. A lot of people thought.
Yeah, it's one of those like seventh rounders that has like a cup of coffee in training camp, and then they're like, yeah, not enough, buddy.
Yeah, but he put up big time numbers because he had Crabtree. Yeah.
Oh yeah, air raid system out there, Texas Tech at the time that was cooking up. And
Leach was coaching him, I think.
Leach was going. Yeah, he was rolling strong. So that was a fun tape to watch with Crabtree on it, man. He was making some plays on that tape. So legitimately earned being drafted where he was picked too.
For sure. Well, listen, he was better than the Raiders option who was taken above him. So at least
Hayward Bay.
We had that from him. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hayward Bay. Yeah. I forgot.
Another Al Davis special right there, bro. Oh, remember my famous Al Davis story is he'd have his scouts build the whole big board up, go through the whole offseason, intricately put this guy here and this guy to the first round, and this guy goes over here, and he needs to be placed right, absolutely right there. And then Davis would come in on draft day and walk over the board and just start doing this. I am not kidding you guys. I am not kidding. Could you imagine just being the scout that's like grinded on hours of tape watching this owner who's coming to not watched any. He's like, I just like his, the hyphen has me intrigued.
Mark Sanchez says, is this the first time that both teams are playing great since both of you started streaming together? Oh, and is this the beginning of a new 5-year war? Yes, it is the first time that they've both been playing at this level by far since we've been streaming together. And I hope that it is. I do. I think there's a potential for that. There definitely is, but you just never know. I mean, windows close quick, weird things happen. I would like to think that this is a new beginning of that rivalry. But you just never know, man. I could have never predicted the mass exodus of the 49ers with Jim Harbaugh. So who knows?
Well, likewise, LOB and how quickly that went out as well. And that stuff's very
5 years is a
finite
long
here.
time to be at the top of your
It
game.
is.
It really is.
I will say, I think that what helps the Niners in this is we're just getting into this window, and is that they'd be theoretically at the end of the window. What's helped this has been certain things that have come forward for them as far as developing young talent and doing that, and not even top end guys where we need them to be first, second, third round picks to develop, but being able to develop even guys into the later regions of the draft. And then the eating of the money last year and the full on just we'll take it right on the nose. We'll do the thing the Saints have refused to do for now it's 15 years. And we're just going to eat this one off season and get this turned back around. So cap situation, you're in a lot better shape. Yeah, there's going to be some older guys to replace, but I think that they have done a good job of giving themselves a lot better chance than they might not have if they had not sacrificed that money this off season, not have made some tough decisions along the way.
I don't know if you remember, Brandon, but when we were in LA, I had a friend come over to the Airbnb we were staying at for a couple hours. That was Zach.
Yeah.
Zach right here.
Oh,
So
hey, Zach.
he said, because I was an hour and a half late. Yeah, he's mad he's missed the show. So you got a lot to go back and watch. Man. It's fun. Dazza says, do you think Saleh can manufacture a pass rush, maybe rush with the cornerback safety if needed to get pressure on Darnold, pressure Darnold into mistakes? He can manufacture a pass rush, but at what costs? You can manufacture pass rush, but that means you're sending more than 4 guys. And if that's the case, what's happening on the back end? And if Sam Darnold dissects that, it could be a problem. So I don't know. It's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one, but he's gonna have to mix things up in coverage at the very, very least. So we'll see how it goes.
I'd give it to you. I don't think 29th in the blitz rate this year. If he was going to dial it up at some point in time, he would have done so at this point. I think he wants to make you earn a way up the field, and he knows those tip passes could be a part of this game. Alfred Collins, you got the short rhythm based passing attack with Sam Darnold. Get those hands up, get a couple tip passes in this game, pick them back the other way. Could be the difference in this type of game. So I would be more, if I'm Saleh, leaning back in that old Carroll methodology. As manning as it can be at times, it does have a bit of a tried and true point to it, especially the guy like Saleh who's done updates to the system and shows a little bit more willingness to kind of mix stuff up as far as disguising and hiding and not just being so clean about what you're doing prior to the snap.
Absolutely. Christopher says, go Niners and go Ducks. Important week. Yes, go Niners and go Ducks, man. It starts tomorrow, baby. Speaking of Texas Tech, we're ready for that one. I can't wait.
Where do you got Sadiq in the draft?
Oh, man. He's a good player, man. He's a really good player. I think early second round. I don't know. It's hard for me to take tight ends super, super early. I don't think he's one of those guys necessarily. I wouldn't be mad anywhere from like 25 on or so for him.
He's going to test through the roof.
I know he is. He's probably going to go higher. I think he can be a good player for sure. Sadiq's a baller, man. He's a good player. Samir says, "What's your most memorable streaming moment this year? Roundtable moments excluded."
I'd say it's the Rams game 2 weeks ago. That was a classic NFL game, and that took you through every emotion that you possibly could go through in a given game, from down to the depths to the biggest of elation to the I can't believe this happened. That was to be able to do it live and cover it live, play by play, and go through every step of it. Yeah, that was the best.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I wasn't live directly after this one, but that week leading up to the game, and in the week after. Rams week 5. I mean, we were on a high, so we were at that game. That was so I would say that one for sure. Dylan says, show some respect. Graham Harrell said that. Nice. Yes, there it is. Graham Harrell. There it is. Good callback, Dylan. Good callback, brother. Great one. The Seahawks Times says, love the show and the roundtable as well. Jake is a bit of a turd burglar, but I even like him too. Go Hawks. You either like Jake or you hate him. There's no in between with Jake, I noticed, for sure.
He does. Man. He gets strong opinions. They'll get strong opinions. That's what you want when you're doing this, man. No matter what, you want to make sure you're drawing. He does that. So, and he does a great job covering the Rams out there.
I don't want to sit back and zone against Purdy. Plays into how they want to play offense. They will take 4 yards of play all day if you give it to them. Yeah, I don't know that that's ideal either for the Seahawks. But I think it's going to be tough to stop the 49ers no matter what. Again, the 49ers want to get into a shootout in this game. They don't want the score like 21 and under. We want to be up in the 30s if possible. And I think that bodes well. So that being said, it's that time of the show where we make our predictions. We choose who wins this game. And Brandon, I'll give you mine first, and then we'll go to you. This game's going to be a classic. I really believe it. I mean, this is going to be, we talked about the Legion of Boom, Seahawks versus the 49ers and some of those games and how great they were. 2019, we talk about. I think this is going to be one of those core memory Seahawks 49ers games. I do. And there will be a moment in that game that might be a core memory as well. I think it's going to be super tight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to kick off the weekend with an absolute bang. And I think that the 49ers do get this done. I'm going to go 31-30 Niners. In special teams, I'm going to make this interesting. Special teams. These are the 2 best special teams in the NFL. You got the Seahawks at number 1, 49ers at number 2. I'm going to go with a late game missed kick by the Seahawks as the difference in this one. And that'll shock everybody because Seahawks have a great kicker. And I think you guys will look at it and be like, oh, this is money. We got this game in the bag. And he's going to push it one way or the other. And you guys are going to be like, how the did that happen in this moment? So that's what I'm going to go with, 31-30 Niners.
Well, I put last night 31-17, and not because I don't have faith in the Niners, but because I do think that the injury situation, Trent Williams being lost in this game, is going to factor in heavily when you're talking about the Seahawks pass rush, and that's not no easy overcomable thing, just like it's no thing, especially with all the other injuries that are mounted up. But that's no fun. I'm going to instead put a wish prediction out here on this one, Jesse. So we're going to go 31-17 on a fourth quarter comeback drive for Sam Darnold, cementing what has been a stellar day for him, putting your 49ers away right there at the end on a touchdown drive. 2 Jackson Smith and Jigba covered one-on-one in the end zone by DeMondre Lenore, one-on-one in man coverage, getting what he wants. Be careful. You might just get what you want.
I love it. I love it. That was good. That was good. Hey, listen, if that's the way it goes for you, then I'll have nothing to say. But Sam Darnold, all right, man, you proved me wrong. Alex says, Dub City, Niners all the way. Well, listen, we just gave you nearly 2 hours. Brandon, thank you so much for doing this with me. I hope that we get a third time out of this. I would love nothing more than to do this in a playoff edition. We think this is big. A win or go home situation would be even bigger. Good luck to your Seahawks in the playoffs so that we can get another matchup. Not so good luck this weekend, though. Enjoy your new year. Everybody in the chat on both sides, we really appreciate you. We definitely love you. Thank you for showing support. We both had 200 plus strong on YouTube all show long. So we really appreciate that. I think Brandon clipped over 300 at some points. So you guys are showing some major love over there, and enjoy your new year. Please stay safe. Do not drink and drive. Definitely call your Ubers. Do what you got to do, but play it safe out there. And we want to make sure that you guys are around to watch this game on Saturday. No tragic events. All right. Play it safe. Yeah. And Brandon, Happy New Year, brother. Good luck to your Seahawks. And can't wait to wrap it up on the roundtable. The hat bet. We both have to wear the hat. Loser has to wear the hat on their show as well, not just the roundtable. Fair?
Fair. Bet.
All right.
Bet.
All right.
And just as a reminder, folks, this is the hat that Jesse's going to be wearing. So just as a reminder, just a little teaser for you guys. We got to give you some teasers out here. So,
right. Well,
I might cut out the tops of the hair because everybody loves your hair so much. I might just cut up the top, by the way, order it, cut out the top, send it your way. And then we'll get a little bit of little flowing in the breeze going on, huh? That wouldn't be too bad. Huh? A little flowing in the breeze. They'd love that.
I cannot wear this. I cannot. Please, for the love of God, do not let me lose this hat bet. Please. I'm undefeated in hat bets. This one cannot be the one. Please, 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 please. All right, guys. Stay safe. Much love. Talk to you soon. Peace.